answer to my original question about street trees, which was specifically trying to get it when all the empty street tree pits in Wimbledon and Rains Park would be filled. The answer wasn't quite as specific as I would have liked, and I'd like to follow that up by asking for some information at the borough level, which is how many empty street tree pits are there now in Merton, and by when do you estimate all those currently empty street tree pits in the borough will be filled?
Councillor Stringers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jane Bos, for your question and for your commitment to our leafy borough. And as we pointed out, Rains Park and Village are blessed with many street trees, and we're currently constantly undergoing maintenance works. So you asked for detail, and I cannot tell you the exact number of tree pits because literally every day that is changing at the moment. We're in the middle of planting new trees, and we're in the middle of inspecting trees that need removal, removing those as well. So I'm happy to follow up with that information. And as I have said in my answer, we're focusing on 1,000 new street trees in the areas with the lowest canopy coverage over this planting season, over the next few months. And then we are working towards over the next few years, filling in the empty street tree pits across the rest of the borough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now call upon Barry Smith. Please come forward to a supplementary question, Mr. Smith.
Yes, I would like to thank the Cabinet member for his answer to my original question, predictably disappointing as it was, and to ask this supplementary question. Given that both the Labour government and the Labour mayor appear to be removing key financial incentives for residents to switch to electric vehicles through their proposed paper mile taxation and full congestion charge liability, what, if anything, is this council doing to ensure that local drivers still have a reason to make a transition to cleaner vehicles?
Councillor Neveson.
Thank you very much for the Liberal Democrat candidate for Abbey Ward for their original and supplementary question.
I think you said this point of order. Is there anything specifically to the Constitution you're referring to?
Indeed, Mr. Mayor, it's that councillors acting as councillors should treat all persons with respect. This is not treating a member of the public with respect.
Well, I'll ask the monitoring officer for advice on that point.
And I shall make that point of order every time he brings it up.
Yes, okay.
Very much, and I will repeat. So I think it's
point of order and ask for a response from the monitoring officer. Councillor, can you just resume your seat, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, with regard to the point of order, the member who has raised the point of order has said that he's looking to the code of conduct with regard to that comment. Hence, that's been raised. We have heard from the Cabinet member this evening that no intention of offending is obviously intended, and we have the mayor here who is satisfied, I believe. So again, if there is a conduct complaint to be made, other than and outside of this meeting, then that is something that will come to me to deal with.
Very much, and I just love to say how appropriate it is that on the day that we recognise the incredible service that Stephen Hammond has paid to this community, that we were also joined by his biggest fan, who I know knows more than anyone how deserving he is of that award. To answer his question, what I can say is that Merton is one of the best places in the country to own an electric vehicle. We have 860 charging points, the 12th highest in the country. And we just have our new EV strategy that is supercharging that work to make it continue that position as one of the best places in the country. And I was just before this meeting having a look at how that compares to some of our neighbouring boroughs, particularly when it comes to lampposts. And I noticed that compared to our 720 lampposts we have here in Merton, I can tell you there are 115 in Sutton, I can tell you that there are 256 in Kingston and 336 in Richmond. So we have nearly more electric vehicle charging points than the rest of those boroughs put together. So we are one of the best and remain to be places to own an EV.
We now move on to Andrew Cole. And Andrew, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The council has acknowledged a debt of £2.9 million with regards to the scaffolding charges at the Britannia Point Tower in Colliers Wood, with a statutory demand having been laid down. My question is, when was the statutory demand issued to Criterion Capital, and has a winding up petition also been submitted? If not, why not?
Councillor Alan Brittas.
I thank Andrew Cole for raising this issue. Certainly, I would like to see £3 million in the council's coffers. The good news is, aside from statutory notices, that we are commencing proceedings in the High Court against the liable parties. Thank you.
We now move on to Jenny Booth. Is Jenny Booth in the chamber? I'd like to invite Jenny forward for her supplementary.
Good evening. My initial question was about the sinkholes which have been appearing in Abbey and Wandle wards, and my supplementary question is to inquire from the Cabinet member what further action has been taken to hold Thames Water and other utilities to account for the damage that the leaky pipes have created in undermining roads and private property, and including conversations that the Cabinet member might have had with Thames Water.
Councillor Neveson.
Thank you very much for the Liberal Democrat candidate for Colliers Wood for their original and supplementary question. And I know that while they won't be looking for advice to me on how to run a campaign, if they do manage to avoid setting up an anonymous Twitter account going after their political opponents, they are doing better than some of their colleagues. To answer our question, we are working constantly with Thames Water and other utilities in the borough to address these problems, and will continue to do so.
Hakeem online, you unmute.
Apologies, I didn't hear the call there. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the Cabinet member for answering the original question. I do have a supplementary question.
Sorry,
so as the AGP proposal seeks to increase the number of matches during the week, how will the council consider the increased pressure and stress this will cause on residents like myself?
Sorry, you've come in on the wrong one. This was a Councillor Cooper Marvier question, and it was Mary, but Councillor two Hakeems. I had a Mariam Hakeem. We had Mariam Hakeem first. That's question was raised. Yeah, we have one. So we'll have to take Mariam Hakeem first. Can you ask your supplementary, please?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me? My initial question was about missed bin collections. Thank you for the previous answer, but could the Cabinet member please explain what measures are being taken to improve local waste collections for residents? I understand your written answer suggests Merton used to be much worse, but how can Merton no longer have the 4th highest missed bin collection rate in London?
Thank you very much for the original and supplementary question. As I mentioned in the original answer, one of the reasons for that is that we do so many collections because we split up our recycling. This means that we take way more collections than most other councils because we split up cardboard and plastic, which is one of the reasons we have a proportionally higher missed collections as well. But the reason we do split them up is because it gives us a much better recycling quality and helps to make the borough greener and helps it make our residents easier to recycle. As I also mentioned in that question, our missed target collections are well below our target. They've come down massively, as you mentioned there, and so we are very happy with that. But of course, that we want to see even fewer missed collections that are going on across the borough. And so we have regular meetings with Veolia to work with them on how we can ensure that that number continues to drop as it is right now.
Thank you. And I'm also going to ask Councillor Cooper Marvier to respond to that question you just had from Habib Hakim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Habib for his original question and his supplementary question. As I said in my, well, his original question was about transport. And, as I said in my response, that there will be a full transport assessment that will be undertaken as part of the planning process. And residents will have the opportunity to participate in all of that. So we will be getting in touch with you when the time comes. Thank you.
Now, another online supplementary, Ifat Yassim Sheikh.
Hello.
Supplementary.
Hi. Yes, my question is also in relation to the artificial grass pitch at Sir Joe's Memorial playing field. I know my question was answered that there has been some meetings, but are there any specific meetings with the local residents who live nearby and who will be mostly affected with this new build? Is it going to be a specific meeting with the local residents who are quite nearby? I mean, the local, the roads which are quite surrounding the playing area, or is it going to be just general meeting with the general kind of Merton-wide council? Is it going to be council-wide meeting with the Merton Council, with the residents who are not nearby?
Cooper Marvier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Isa for her original and her supplementary question, which is actually just the same question, really, but I can reassure you that residents were informed. So there was a resident association that were involved in all of this, the Westbounds and Rings Park Resident Association, to be specific. Local sport organization were informed. The Friends of the park was also informed. And if you are specifically, if you have any specific question or interest when another consultation is coming up, we can inform you so that you can be part of it. But if you connect with the Friends group or the Residents Association, then you will be informed through that process as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now move on to to Ellie Iono, who's in the chamber. Ellie.
Hello, and thank you to the Cabinet member who already answered my initial question regarding enforcement and community safety in Abbey Ward, Wimbledon. Now, unfortunately, I was a bit disappointed by the answer because it focused on the idiosyncrasies with the data held by the Met and the police, and I'd like to focus on the data held by the council itself. So, excuse me, forgive me, I'm just trying to find the question that I sent.
Have your questions ready?
Yes, I do apologise. There's just a technical glitch with my phone. Give me 2 seconds.
Sorry, you need to ask the question now.
Yes, thank you, and I do understand that. So the reply puts a responsibility to the Met and the data systems in place. Will you now commit to within 30 days an Abbey safety update on wardens, lighting repairs and so forth, and in 4 weeks a resident/trader walkabout on High Path and Morden Road?
Councillor Macaulay.
Right. Thank you, Ellie, for your original and supplementary question. And first of all, I would like to say to you that we're quite willing to write to the police, for the Safer Neighborhood Team Plan, as highlighted in the 2022 boundaries. However, as I mentioned in the question on the response given to you, the council does not hold any public data relating to the Met Police. And if there are any vehicles which has issues in relation to this matter, it falls under operational remit of the Met Police. But as I mentioned to you now, we're quite prepared to write to the police to get the statistics if this is needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Pippa Masson, I'd invite you for your supplementary question, Pippa.
Thank you to the Cabinet Member for his reply. I just want to make it clear that I'm speaking on behalf of Merton Centre for Independent Living, for whom I work. So we're a user-led pan-disability, deaf and disabled people's charity operating in the borough. Does the Cabinet Member agree that adding the word wheeling to the title of walking and cycling strategy would help to make people who cannot travel about the borough on foot feel that the council is genuinely committed to meeting their needs when it comes to the development of active travel infrastructure?
Councillor Neveson.
Thank you very much for the original and supplementary question. And I do want to reassure that accessibility is the very heart of this walking and cycling strategy. It's one of the things that we want to be a central tenant. And I was delighted to welcome a couple of representatives from her organisation to a round table that we recently held with Will Norman, the Walking and Cycling Commissioner for the Mayor, where we first heard firsthand some of the issues they have in Merton and what we can do to address them. And so I know in the original answer we mentioned that wheeling is absolutely a core part of this, and I'd also really encourage her and her organisation to respond to the consultation that is currently open right now. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sarah McAllister, supplementary. Please come forward.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Cabinet Member for his response to my original question, and I'm delighted to hear that he's keen to work with West Barnes residents. As the planning application for the gas holder development was made live in Merton on Monday the 17th of November, can he give me any details about how Merton will improve public transport in West Barnes to support future residents of the gas holders development?
Councillor Neveson.
Thank you very much for the original and supplementary question. And as I mentioned in that previous answer, I did have a meeting recently with the Rains Park and West Barnes Residents Association. We talked about these issues, and I heard firsthand from a lot of residents about the concerns they have with transport, particularly in the area. Now, as you mentioned, that planning application has only just been validated in Merton, so I can't talk at this stage in detail about what the response may be, but as that develops, I can assure you that we will be keeping you up to date with that.
And the final supplementary, Nigel Bembo. Is Nigel in the chamber? Thank you, Nigel. If you could ask your supplementary, please.
Right. Nigel, thank you. We play said yes, but only pointed out to the IFS and a civic pride month that closed in October without confirming Abby's 2024 and 25 NCIO parts figure or offering ward engagement. Will you now confirm the 8,240 pounds amount and commit to an Abbey workshop and pipeline? Thank you.
Councillor Alan Brittas.
Thank you to Nigel Bembo and to your original and to your supplementary. And we miss you. And we used to meet regularly when you were a councillor. So what I commit to, I can't commit to dishing out money as the Cabinet Member for Finance, but what I'll commit to, Nigel, is meeting you in Abbey, in a coffee house, and going through your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to agenda item number 6, councillor questions to Cabinet members. These have been published along with the responses from Cabinet member. I will read out each member's name in the order they appear in the agenda and invite you to ask a supplementary question. Please be advised that there is 30 minutes for this item, and please be succinct in terms of your responses and not have statements. So the first questions, Councillor Ofumu, do you wish to ask a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you to the Cabinet Member, Councillor Cooper Marbia. I welcome Merton's effort to empower women and girls through the sport. Could the Cabinet Member detail any new initiative aimed at broadening participation by introducing girls to sports outside their usual experience?
Mr. Cooper Marvier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Ofumu for both her original and her supplementary questions. Following the Red Roses' historic win at the World Cup, Merton, in partnership with Harlequin Foundations, launched a new £80,000 initiative called the Merton Switch Partnership Program, or SWITCH for short. This program is to encourage girls to participate in rugby and has the capacity to support 1,500 girls over the next 2 years. The delivery of this program will be supported by the Rugby Football Union, London Broncos, Star Scheme, London Sport, and our own Merton School Sports Partnership. In addition to rugby sessions, which will be led by females, this program will provide training and for female coaches and well-being workshops in schools and clubs across the borough, teaching girls that strength is not only about being the biggest and the fastest, but can also be about determination, teamwork, and confidence. And Mr. Mayor, this program is just another step in Merton's journey to becoming London's first ever borough of sport. And I hope it will inspire the next generation of Red Roses. Thank you.
Question number 2. Councillor Gould, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thank the Cabinet Member for their answer, but I disagree that 1 in 5 is a good rate of uptake. Health checks will soon include menopause support and treatment options. So will the Cabinet Member agree to add a new priority category for women who are most likely to be affected?
Councillor McCabe.
Well, I'd like to thank Councillor Gould for her original and supplementary question, and any issue such as that, I will rely on the excellent doctors that we have in the borough. I trust their judgment. They are competent and clinically qualified to make these judgments, unlike me and you.
We move on to question number 3. Councillor McLean, do you have a supplementary?
I do. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I thank the Cabinet Member for his response. Of course, we are now approaching what appears to be, or will be, a very damaging budget. Of course, the mansion tax has been talked about, a Liberal Democrat idea now being implemented by a Labour Party, something the Conservatives, of course, would never have done. Can he tell me what work officers have perhaps been doing to tasked with in anticipation of the Chancellor's mansion tax, which will hit so many families in Wimbledon?
I thank Councillor McLean for his original question, which was on the fair funding review, and for his supplementary, which is now on next week's budget. Next week's budget confronts the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, with a gap of £30 billion as a result of 14 years, 5 of those with the Liberal Democrats in that coalition. My officers are working with me to make sure we get a balanced budget come March 2026 that is wholly in favour and to the benefit of our residents.
We now move on to question number 4. Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to thank the Cabinet Member for his response to my original question, my supplementary. It's fantastic to see this administration's work commended by both the Health Foundation and CIPFA as an example of best practice in preventative investment by local authorities. So can the Cabinet Member tell us more about how this Council's public health approach is influencing other local authorities?
Councillor McCabe.
Mr. Manley for her original and supplementary. CIPFA and the Health Foundation launched this project to answer a simple but really important question. Could we identify the impact of investment in prevention on the health of the population? And Merton Council, through our public health, finance and borough of sport teams, worked with CIPFA and the Health Foundation to capture how the single corporate priority in the borough of sport mobilises preventive investment across departments and partners while tackling inequalities and supporting priority groups. To quote from page 27 of the final CIPFA report, Merton was the first council to take part in the project, which meant its work set the foundation for everything that followed. Each step of the approach was applied iteratively, with lessons from Merton shaping how the process was refined for later councils. The other councils involved in this are Three Rivers District Council, Wigan Metropolitan Borough, and the Rhondda Council. I'm not going to go into the Welsh for fear of tripping up. But we have, it is true, set the foundation for other local authorities who wish to use this framework.
Question number 5. Councillor Hicks, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank the Cabinet Member for his reply. Merton is the only borough in southwest London without a breast cancer screening centre. We're told it takes 3 years from application to deliver a mobile screening centre. Has Merton submitted a formal application?
Councillor McCabe.
Well, I'd like to thank the councillor for her original and supplementary question. And I think it's clear from my answer that I have consistently raised this issue with the NHS. I was here in the chamber the first night we saw a map showing Merton as the only borough without a breast screening centre. And I've taken this up with the ICP. I've taken it up with NHS England. We secured a grant from NHS England, and it's a matter of real regret to me that St George's, having got the funding, the capital funding, were unable to provide the required revenue funding. And I have continued with that campaign because for me, this is an issue of equality. The people of Merton pay their taxes the same as all the other boroughs that do have a breast screening operation in the borough, and we deserve equal treatment to the other boroughs in southwest London, some of whom don't have the same inequalities as Merton does. And I have raised it consistently. I've gone into the board and confronted of Gesh, George's, Epsom and St Helier, and asked them why we are still without one, and actually raised the issue of health equality with them. And I will continue to do that because we think that this is important, and I will be raising it with the new chief executive of St George's on the day he arrives, because it's a priority for me, and it's not right that we don't have this facility in the borough.
Move on to question number 6. Councillor Austin, do you have a supplementary?
I thank the Cabinet Member for his response. Will the Cabinet Member join me on a visit to businesses in Wimbledon Village, now named the best high street in the United Kingdom, to discuss with business owners what can be done to improve the business environment here in Merton?
Councillor Alan Brittis.
Yes, I thank Councillor Austin for his original and for his supplementary. I read the report about Wimbledon Village having the best high street. He'll know my background within the Federation of Small Businesses. And yes, I'm very happy to meet him in Wimbledon Village in the Rose and Crown, because I like youngs.
Thank you. And we'll now move on to Councillor Mercer. Councillor Mercer, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the Cabinet Member. 1p. 1p per resident per week would be enough to generate a reasonable fund to improve public toilet provision. Would the Cabinet Member please try to find this sort of amount as part of the budgeting process? Or perhaps more of us should think about following Lord Mandelson's recent example.
Councillor Stringer.
I'd like to thank Councillor Mercer, and he'll know, as having been a councillor for a few years now, that we have a formal budgeting process that we are currently in the middle of, where we look for any growth. But the growth is very hard in an era where we're still having to live within our means, and we're still having to prioritise the extreme strain on our statutory resources. So we are trying to think creatively and innovatively and work with local businesses and work with local community groups to improve toilet access. And I'm very much looking forward to the opening of the public toilets in Morden that Councillor Mercer and colleagues from Morley's for Merton and myself and Stephen and others have all campaigned for, which we're expecting to happen very soon. And thanks.
Question number 8. Councillor Bim, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is reassuring to hear the work being undertaken to protect women and girls in Merton. Could the Cabinet Member confirm what consultation has taken place with women and girls in Merton regarding their safety, and how is their feedback being used? Thank you.
Councillor Macaulay.
Thank you to Councillor Blind for your original and now your supplementary question. The new violence against women consultation took place with residents very recently, and a feedback on their thoughts on women and girls' safety has now been taken into account. Officers have also consulted with victims of WAG and also professionals working in hand, and also those number of community engagement meetings which has taken place. This has now been incorporated in the WAG strategy, and it will go to Cabinet on the 15th of December for approval. Thank you.
Before we proceed further, I'm going to stop the clock because the monitoring officer wishes to make a statement to council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to take this opportunity, Mr. Mayor, with regard to conduct and the behaviour within the council chamber. This is a message to councillors in that we are here to conduct council business, and we are not here to be posting on social media when that business is meant to be conducted. So you're here as councillors to participate with the meeting, but not to post on social media when that business is being conducted. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to remind you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that advice. We now move on to question number 9, Councillor Dresslers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the Cabinet Member for their response. Accessing women's health services can be a minefield. On the link you've provided, it's not possible to just book an appointment. Women in other London boroughs can self-refer themselves to specialist women's health services. When will Merton women be able to do the same?
Councillor McCabe.
Well, I will check the link that you have referred to, but I think it's important to point out that this particular initiative has been funded by Kingston and Richmond NHS Foundation Trust, and it's not been without its problems. I think I've explained that in my answer, but I do not see any time in the immediate future where a service like this will be developed, because I spent the day with colleagues at South West London ICB, where they are required to make cuts of 57%, and so I think it will be a question of making, trying to keep services going rather than develop new initiatives, and I wonder whether this initiative that is operating in Kingston and Richmond will be sustainable going forward, and that was one of the issues that I pointed out in my response.
On to question number 10, Councillor Patterson, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I thank the Cabinet member for his answer, and actually it was a highly satisfactory answer, full and complete, and I'm very happy about that. But can the Cabinet member now update me on the progress of the proposals to bring pickleball and paddle to Merton, utilising the derelict tennis courts in Morden Park, which would be funded 100% by an up to £2 million investment from the private sector, and give a financial return to the council and obvious benefits to the sporting community?
Councillor Alan Brittis.
Yes, I'm really gutted you didn't call me Cabinet Minister. And you two should be ashamed of yourselves for persuading not to, because I quite like that. Yes, also let's remind ourselves, as you were complimentary, that the leisure centre in Morden was on budget and on time. That's important as well. And I will seek to see what we can do about those issues you're raising. I need to meet these companies you're talking about, so perhaps a pint of the Dog and Fox with you.
Okay, we move on to number 11. Councillor Fraser, do you have a supplementary?
Thanks to the Cabinet member for his response. It was great to see the Mayor's Walking and Cycling Commissioner visit Merton last month. Can the Cabinet member give us an update on what was discussed at that meeting?
Everson.
Much for the question. I mean, there was really two things that were discussed at the meeting. The first was an opportunity to talk about and show the Commissioner some of the excellent work that we've been doing on making Merton an even better place to get around, from increasing the number of cycle hangers in the borough, to the work we've done with e-bikes, and to the many works we've done around the borough to improve accessibility. But the second thing was also an opportunity to listen to residents. Afterwards, we held a round table with groups from across the borough, including two, as I mentioned earlier, from the Merton Centre for Independent Living, to hear about their lived experience in Merton and how we can work with them and work with TfL to ensure that Merton is a great place to get around, a safe place to get around, and a sustainable place to get around. Thank you.
We now move on to Councillor Fairclough. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do, and I thank the Cabinet member for his response. Now, the Cabinet member claims one resident in my ward thinks the streets are clean on behalf of the other 9,500 of my constituents. Those who think that street cleaning actually involves sweeping some pavements and roads, can he confirm the reason he failed to answer my question about the percentage of streets swept every week or every fortnight and the percentage of streets swept less regularly? Is it A, because he doesn't know, or B, because he just doesn't want to tell us, and an A or a B will suffice?
Councillor Neveson.
Thank you very much for the supplementary question. And what I can say is that from April, we have been cleaning every street every week in the borough. We've been increasing the barrow beats that we have in the borough. We've been increasing the litter picks we're doing in the borough. We're increasing the number of mechanical sweepers we have in the borough, all in the aid of listening to residents and what matters to them and making Merton a cleaner place to be. And while the service is still incredibly new, I think it's an incredible testament to the work of our officers, to my predecessor in the role, in the work they've done in bringing this service in-house, hitting the ground running from April, and already we're getting compliments from residents who are seeing a difference in their community.
Councillor Attawar, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do. Could the Cabinet member update us on how we are supporting residents to recycle through our pop-up tips initiative?
Councillor Neveson.
Thank you very much for the supplementary question. I might begin to sound like a broken record, but again, this initiative that I could not be prouder of. Since they were introduced, we've had over 10,000 residents make use of this service, leading to nearly 200 tonnes of waste collected, of which 40% was recycled. All of this is, as I said before, about making Merton a cleaner place to be, and where recycling is as easy as it possibly can be, and ensuring that our borough is as green and sustainable as it can be. Thank you.
On to question number 14. Councillor Galea, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the Cabinet member for taking the time to respond to my question. Unfortunately, the core of the question itself went mainly unanswered. And considering what just happened in the chamber earlier, could the Cabinet member please share what feedback he has received from residents on the flags that have been hung on council public property unlawfully, and how he is monitoring and reviewing the feedback? What criteria would determine the point at which the council will intervene? Thank you.
Councillor Neveson.
Thank you very much for the supplementary question. And as I said earlier, I do want to reiterate how proud we are of the diversity here in Merton. As I mentioned as well before, we are listening to the community. There's feedback that I regularly receive, that I make sure our officers are passing on and are receiving as well. We speak to the police regularly to understand if they're hearing things and how we can reflect that in the work that we're doing. As I mentioned, the policy is under review. Thank you.
Question number 15. Councillor Henry, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And I'd like to thank the Cabinet member for her response. It's great to hear about the council's plans for Christmas. Can the Cabinet member tell us more about plans to build on success of We Are Merton Festival held in April, and what the plans for next year? Thank you.
That's a Stringer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Henry for her question, and I look forward to seeing her and many of you at many of the Christmas events coming up, including the Christmas light switch on in Abbotsbury Road on Friday, the 28th of November. But building on this, this administration has secured funding from the Mayor of London and from the Heritage Lottery Fund to put on a whole range of cultural and heritage events over the next few years. So there will be trails, there'll be public art, there'll be performances, there'll be cultural events. But the date you really need in your diary is Saturday, the 20th of June, when we're going to be putting on the new Start of the Line Festival, because Morden is the start of the line, and we're going to have big name performers here in beautiful Morden Park, as well as lots of local up-and-coming talent. So look forward to seeing you all there.
And on to question 16. Councillor Braithwaite, do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the Cabinet member for his reply and for the actions he has taken to address the signalling issues. The noise and vibration experienced by residents in the South Wimbledon area is worse than it has ever been and has affected more residents than ever before. Will the Cabinet member commit to organising a meeting before Christmas, preferably, with local councillors, affected residents and TfL decision makers to agree an action plan to mitigate the effects of this?
Councillor Neveson.
Cool. Thank you very much for the supplementary question. And as I mentioned before, I have written to TfL to raise my own concerns, particularly about some of the delays that affected both our residents severely over the last few weeks. But I've also mentioned the noise complaints that we've been having as well. And so I have asked to meet them. And so I'm very happy to meet with the councillor to discuss any issues. And if there are problematic areas, I'd be very keen to work with him to make sure that those are alleviated.
Question number 17. Councillor Blunt, do you have a supplementary?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's great to see this administration is prioritising the redevelopment of Morden Town Centre for its residents. Could the Cabinet member update us on the actions the council is taking to deliver this regeneration in the long term?
Councillor Judge.
I thank Councillor Brunt for his question and supplementary question. I hope Councillor Patterson has also noticed that we're establishing a pickleball court in Malden Town Centre. And the answer to Councillor Brunt's supplementary is that we have been preparing and are about to commence a procurement exercise to secure a long-term partner in the development of Malden Town Centre. And the soft market testing we have conducted has been very promising. Thank you.
Councillor Johnston, do you have a supplementary?
It's the work that we are doing, standing up for private renters, is fantastic. But another group that needs our support are leaseholders. So can the Cabinet member tell us what he has been doing to support leaseholders in our borough?
Well, the council supports leaseholders and certainly have made representations on issues like service charge increases. But we've also encouraged leaseholders to use statutory powers that have been recently granted to acquire the right to manage the buildings that include their homes. For instance, the leaseholders at the Wimbledon Stadia Flats, led by the chair of the leaseholders, Sebastian Budner, have recently achieved the right to manage that in August of this year, where over 85% of them supported taking control of the management of their blocks away from the freeholder. So far, they've improved services, cleaned up the site, made staffing changes, and are now actively working on lowering their service charges budget for 2026, adding value and eliminating a lot of waste. I would encourage all leaseholders to consider following the initiative of the leaseholders of Wimbledon Stadia by seeking right to manage.
On to question number 19. Councillor Hayes, do you have a supplementary?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, apologies, I've not got a mic today, which some people probably think is a great thing. I'd like to thank the Cabinet member for her answer, and I'm proud that this administration is continuing to work hard and champion the well-being of pupils and residents from every corner. And here comes my Fred Kite moment for those who remember him. Can the Cabinet member confirm how this new contract will also benefit the workers? Thank you.
Councillor Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thank my colleague, Councillor Hayes, for both his questions, and say, with the new contract, what is wonderful is that we are working, Employ Merton is working with local residents to employ local residents in our schools to prepare and serve the school dinners, paying the London living wage. And we're very optimistic that those people who will undertake these jobs will be local people, because they can travel, they can take their children to school, go and do the job and go and collect their children. So I think it's multi-productive for Merton residents.
Councillor Butcher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's great to hear that our HAF programme is still so popular, and that Merton is one of the only councils to offer this support in half-term as well as over the summer, particularly the Food Club programme, which is so desperately needed. Can the Cabinet member confirm to me what else the council is doing to support children and young people across the borough, both in school and during the holidays?
Councillor Kawisa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I'd also like to thank my councillor colleague for his question, as well as his interest in how we've supported and continue to support our most vulnerable and disadvantaged children and young people. This is a question I'm, of course, very happy to answer, because we have a lot to be proud of when it comes to our holiday activities and food programme. As a free school meals kid myself, I'm pleased that our holiday activities have gone from strength to strength. As my council colleague said, not only are we the only London council providing this provision during the half-term breaks, but we've extended it beyond just children on free school meals to children with special educational needs, and also those who are in and out of education. And Mr. Mayor, to cut a long answer short, I'm reassured that this program is working very well. I did a few visits myself, and with the exception of a slight embarrassment of losing to a climbing wall to a 10-year-old, I saw that the activities are indeed fun, full of new friends for our children to make, and a diverse range of activities for all of our children. And so I can only see this Merton Labour initiative going from strength to strength. Thank you.
And the final question is to Councillor Christie. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the Cabinet Member for his answer. I hope the first meeting of the Merton Legacy Fund Advisory Board goes well tomorrow, but can he inform us how residents can continue to be involved with the Merton Legacy Fund? Thank you.
Councillor Brissis.
I thank Councillor Billy Christie for his original question and for his supplementary on the Merton Legacy Fund, and rather like the fact that we here in Merton hold 2 rounds of scrutiny for our budget. We will also be holding 2 rounds of engagement with the public on ideas for projects for the Merton Legacy Fund. And in the new year, we're going to put it to the public in a vote as to which projects they want to see come to fruition. Thank you.
That concludes questions. We now move on to agenda item number 7, report from Mitcham Community Forum. Councillor Manley, you have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And members will know how passionate I am about Mitcham. In fact, I'm deeply in love with it. So it was a pleasure and a privilege to chair my very first but very lively community forum meeting at Vestry Hall. These forums are an important way to engage with residents, and I want to thank everyone who attended in October. Mark Warren, our town centre manager, updated us on projects delivered since Feb, including the new mural at Armfield Crescent Play Area and the arrival of the Mitcham Bandstand over the summer. He also outlined new public realm improvements such as ramps and step-free access to local businesses, as well as a £50,000 grant from the GLA to help make the town centre more family friendly. Data on footfall and local spending shows Mitcham is actually thriving. We were all quite surprised by that, but it's good to hear. Sarah Pedder, Merton Council's Deputy Head of Consultation Engagement, provided an overview of the way we are Merton Big Conversation, and residents welcomed the chance to share their views. Pat Yaboa from Health Watch Merton updated us on the Armed Forces Veteran Project, which is doing incredible work supporting veterans in the borough. Over half of Merton GP practices are now accredited as veteran friendly, and more than 100 veterans have signed up to the Health Watch Bulletin. There's 5 local breakfast clubs, 2 weekly coffee meetings at the Legion in Mitcham, and bi-monthly meetings, and even a veterans choir. So I was also pleased to signpost residents to winter activities, as well as encourage, of course, the continued use of this administration's wonderful pop-up tip initiative. I also announced the... Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We now move on to agenda item number 8, report from Rains Park Community Forum. Councillor Oliver.
Park and West Barnes Community Forum took place on the 16th of October at Rains Park Library. As usual, it was very well attended. Some residents had submitted questions in advance, which were dealt with by Rains Park Councillor Victoria Wilson. Presentation was given by Rains Park Safer Neighbourhood team. Residents' concerns included the danger to pedestrians from cyclists, particularly e-bike riders using pavements. There have also been a number of local incidents recently where there have been gatherings of car drivers who then proceeded to race up and down local streets. There didn't seem to be easy solutions to either of these issues. Elizabeth Lane from the Friends of Rains Park Station talked about the work they have done to beautify Rains Park Station and the railway embankment and the awards they have won. Local Member of Parliament for Wimbledon, Paul Kohler, told us about his first year in Parliament, how he'd come to grips with the arcane procedures, how there is a very friendly atmosphere between MPs from different parties. He told us he'd been able to organise a 3-hour debate on palliative care in connection with the assisted dying bill. Paul had previously held a public meeting so residents could express their opinions on the bill. He spoke about his role as Transport spokesperson and latterly Northern Ireland spokesperson. He's also a member of the Home Affairs Select Committee, which recently reported on the poor management of the contractual arrangements for asylum hotels under both governments and corresponding waste of public money. There was also a presentation on Rains Park Vale Football Club from its CEO and former Wimbledon player John Scales, who was part of the victorious 1988 FA Cup winning team. Sarah Pedder encouraged residents to participate in the We Are Merton big conversation. I can't believe I've got time left, but I did go fast. So I'll read a bit that I wasn't going to say. The local councillors present, councillors Wilson, Charles, Patterson and myself gave updates on local issues, and the meeting concluded with any other business. A worthwhile event, but still almost entirely Rains Park focused, with little to appeal to West Barnes residents. We need to think about how the forum can better represent both wards. Thank you.
We now move on to number 9, report from Morden Community Forum, and I'd like to invite Councillor Ida to provide the update, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was pleased to chair another Morden Community Forum meeting this month. The consultation engagement team updated the forum on the We Are Big Merton big conversation, giving residents the opportunity to share what changes they would like to see in Morden. Residents welcomed the council's effort to deliver meanwhile Morden enhancements, and many of us shared our excitement for the introduction of the pickleball court behind Morden Station. This will help to bring some new and exciting energy to the town centre and is set to be completed by the 100th anniversary of Morden Station. This forum meeting also served as an opportunity for residents to give feedback on specific Morden installations, and I welcome the efforts from council representatives to ensure residents' voices that will continue to shape future work. We also discussed the new regeneration plans for Morden, which were recently signed off by Merton's Cabinet. Residents expressed their anticipation to see the next stages of development commence. I'd like to encourage all Morden residents to participate in the forum, which is an important platform for residents to stay in the loop and share their ideas and concern. I am grateful for all those who attended this month and contributed to the discussions. Thank you.
10, report from Wimbledon Community Forum. Councillor Rees, you have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. So here's an update for the Wimbledon Community Forum, 23rd of October, 5 items on the agenda. We started with an update from Craig Herring on Love Wimbledon. The footfall in Wimbledon Town Centre is at its highest level since records began 15 years ago, I know. Possibility of a new anchor tenant for the Wimbledon Quarter. Lots of Christmas events. I mean, whoa, Winterfest, 29th, 30th November, Christmas markets, Ely's new Wimbledon Theatre and Polka are all getting involved. Even I started to get excited about Christmas. Details are all in the Wimble newsletter, and that's distributed locally. Then Sarah Pedder also came to our event, We Are Merton Big Conversation. She told us all about it, gave us an overview, encouraged participation. A rather cynical resident asked if the outcomes were going to be communicated just before the election. Shame. But we had an update from Paul Kohler, completely different things to the Rains Park meeting. Amazing what this guy gets up to. Discussions with TfL. We repeated signal failures on the district line. He asked South Western Railway to address the antisocial behaviour by increasing visibility in the carriages. He's met with Lime, the antisocial behaviour of some users of e-bikes. He suggested a permanent display of the important history of Wimbledon Station, and he's expressed his opposition to the proposed amendment to the Planning and Infrastructure Bill regarding statutory trust land, and he signed a letter to the Treasury to help fund police stations. How am I doing? Okay. Some residents raised that the traffic safety issues arising from some e-bike parking bays. Thought they were in the inappropriate area. 4th item was the All England proposed development in Wimbledon Park. Always a juicy topic around our parts. A Save Wimbledon Park representative gave a summary of the position regarding legal challenges. AELTC again didn't turn up. They weren't able to send a representative to liaise with residents, but sent a report. Thank you.
Go on now to agenda item number 11, Liberal Democrat motion on women's health strategy. I call upon Councillor Gould to move the motion. You have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm proud to propose this motion to reimagine our borough's health through Her Health Matters, women's health strategy. The Liberal Democrats have long championed women's health, from securing a motion on period poverty to signing the menopause pledge, and calling attention to gaps in breast cancer screening, first raised by Councillor Hicks back in 2022 and later again tonight. But let's be honest, if a system was inefficient, misogynistic and racist, we'd all want it changed. This is the system many women face every single day when trying to access healthcare. We need to focus on women's health, which remains chronically underfunded, undervalued and under-prioritised. Women and girls have been underrepresented in clinical trials, excluded from health strategies and left to navigate fragmented, poorly coordinated services. We need a more joined up approach, a clear assessment of where we are and how we can do better. We need a one-stop shop for women, local, accessible and effective. We will hear later from Councillor Rees about women's health hubs and from Councillor Drezelar on the perimenopause. Women make up 60% of all unpaid carers in Merton, according to the 2021 census. Yet women are still on waiting lists in pain for many months with endometriosis, gynecological issues and pelvic floor conditions often ignored out of stigma or embarrassment. More women are out of work due to musculoskeletal problems caused by poor bone health. Even though men suffer more strokes, women are more likely to die from heart attacks, and more women die from dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And even before a child is conceived, the system fails women locally. Both St George's and St Helier maternity units have been downgraded by the CQC, where safety was found to be inadequate. And if you are a black woman, you are 3 times more likely to die in childbirth in London than a white woman. Behind every statistic is a real woman's life, a mother, a sister, a daughter, whose potential is lost because the system failed her. We must remove barriers so that women can access care locally, without needing to travel to Clapham Junction for sexual health advice. Too often, decisions about women's health are made without women at the table. That's why we are calling for the voices of Merton's women to be heard through the creation of a women's health network. Because when women are excluded, the system fails to represent their needs, their bodies and realities. Women's health is not a side issue. It's the cornerstone of prosperity. For every £1 invested in women's health, we get £11 back in economic and social returns. Healthier women mean healthier children, healthier families and more resilient communities. It's about values, not just economics. Does this Labour administration value women enough to put them at the centre of its health priorities? Not later, but now. When there is change, there is possibility. Join the Liberal Democrats tonight. Let's champion investment in women's health. This takes courage, commitment and action from every councillor in this chamber, because the current system is failing. It's failing your mum, your wife, your sister, your aunt, your daughter, your grandmother, and together we can build a system that finally delivers the care women deserve. Show that you value access to quality and timely healthcare.
Time. Thank you. I now call upon Councillor Drezelar to second the motion. You've got up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I speak tonight to second this motion, one that has the power to transform how women in Merton experience healthcare. For several years now, I have been going through the confusing and exhausting journey of perimenopause. Like so many women, I approached my GP with symptoms that affected every part of my life: brain fog, anxiety, depression, and extreme fatigue, to name a few. And like so many others, I was prescribed antidepressants. No one mentioned hormones or explained what was happening to my body. It was only when I began educating myself that I recognised my symptoms for what they were, and only through persistence that I finally received the referrals and treatment I needed. I had to lead the conversations, chase results, and essentially act as my own specialist. And I am far from alone. Many women I've spoken to describe the same pattern. Limited specialist knowledge amongst GPs, being dismissed or misdiagnosed, and struggling to be taken seriously, resulting in no referral. Some who can afford it turn to private care, but for most women, that is simply not an option. I want to add that my own GP has been very supportive and understanding, and I'm very grateful for that. But even supportive GPs are working within a system that does not give them the training or the time to provide a specialist women's health care that is needed. This cannot be acceptable in 2025. Half the population will go through menopause, yet we still see a major gap in specialist understanding, a gap acknowledged by GPs themselves. Nationally, most GPs say their menopause training was inadequate and that more education is urgently needed. I also want to share the experience of a local resident who went through years of infertility treatment. Her journey was just as fragmented. She was moved straight to IVF with little investigation into underlying causes, and later learned that key tests involved long waits unless accessed privately. Throughout the process, she faced unnecessary travel, inconsistent prescription arrangements between the so-called hub and spokes, and had to rely on advice from friends in the NHS or online forums. Her experience shows a system that is overly complex, poorly coordinated, and emotionally draining for women and couples. Here in Merton, despite excellent work by many practices, we still lack a physical women's health hub that women can walk into, and we do not have a local women's health strategy. This is wider than menopause. Women in Merton face challenges with long-acting contraception and other chronic gynecological conditions. Yet our existing strategies mention breast cancer and little else, and that is not enough. The National Women's Health Strategy calls for women's health hubs, accessible one-stop centres offering expert joined-up care. At present, women here often do not know where to turn. You must first convince your GP that your symptoms are serious enough and then hope you will be referred. It is a pathway that is fragmented and confusing. Tonight we have an opportunity to change that, to say clearly that her health matters. By supporting this motion, we can begin Merton's first women's health strategy, conduct a proper health needs assessment, work with NHS partners to establish women's health hubs, and ensure that every woman in Merton can access the care she needs. I know from personal experience how transformative it would be to walk into a dedicated local hub and find someone who understands and has expert knowledge. This motion is about fairness, empowerment and respect. I urge every member here tonight to support it. Let's make Merton a borough that truly says her health matters. Thank you.
I now call upon Councillor Akagina to speak. You have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, women's health is not simply a priority for this administration. It is a cause we champion every single day. We know that when women thrive, our community thrives. This is why Merton Labour has worked tirelessly to improve outcomes for women's health, using every power at our disposal and lobbying whenever necessary. Now, let me be clear, the Liberal Democrats have raised some valid issues in this motion, but I also know that many of these issues fall under the remit of the NHS, not the local government. Even with limited role, we have always stepped up and taken action. We have pressured and we have campaigned and we have delivered. We have pressed and continue to push for the NHS to provide a breast cancer screening site in our borough. Even I have asked for it to be in Mitcham. Merton Labour stood alongside our local MP Siobhan MacDonald in the fight to save maternity services and maternity services and mothers at St Heliers. And our very own Councillor Stringer has been relentless in campaigning to protect children's cancer services at St George's. This is what standing up for healthcare looks like. With the powers we do hold, we have gone further. Through Merton's Healthy Living Style Service, we have organised healthy eating, physical activities events for women. We have taken outreach directly into our communities, offering blood pressure checks, carbon monoxide testing, and even piloting HPV self-swabbing kits for home use in the north of the borough. And through our borough of sports ambition, we have opened doors for women, whether through running clubs, our park activities, or walking, netball, all designed to keep women active and healthy. And nationally, we have not forgot that this is nationally, let us not forget that this is a Labour government that will renew the Women's Health Strategy as part of the 10-year health plan. It is the Labour government that will tackle gynecology waiting list, and it is this Labour government that will improve maternity care for ethnic minority diverse women. So instead of bringing questions and calls for strategy to the council, the Liberal Democrats will be much better placed using their energies addressing those who have the real power to make a change on women's healthcare, the NHS. This is what our Cabinet Member for Health and Social Care, Councillor McCabe, does regularly, as we also try in our scrutiny panel, as the Liberal Democrats will know. I'm sure we will be happy to be joined by our colleagues from the parties opposite in holding the local NHS to account and lobbying for improvement for women's services locally. Our commitment to women's health is unwavering, and our work will not stop there. We believe in acting.
Thank you. We now move on to Councillor Rees. You have up to 4 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm keen to speak on this because, well, partly because my wife and daughter have had serious medical interventions in the last couple of years, and because this issue requires engagement from everybody, not just women. I've witnessed the challenges faced by our NHS because women's bodies are different and in some respects more complicated, significantly less researched. I mean, I've learned that only 5% of medications have been fully tested for use during pregnancy and breastfeeding. 5%. 580,000 women are on waiting lists for gynecological services in England. Black women, as we've heard, are 2 to 3 times more likely to die during pregnancy than white women. And a fortune is being paid out in maternity negligence claims since 2019. And where's Merton on this? Well, Merton's Local Health and Care Plan 2022 to 2024 mentions women. Oh, no, sorry, it doesn't. It doesn't mention women. It doesn't mention women at all. And our health and wellbeing strategy 2025 to 2030 only mentions breast cancer. Nothing on endometriosis or any of the chronic gynecological conditions, menopause, pelvic floor, sexual health issues, nothing. This council is arguing that there's a pathway in place, an abstract connection between the GP and a woman's health hub to help women if they have concerns. However, the dedicated hub is all the way over in Kingston. It was the first to set up the new Women's Health Hub model. It's improved care and reduced waiting times, but there's no option to self-refer. So as Councillor Dresselars has mentioned, many women are forced to take this situation into their own hands, given the lack of GP specialist knowledge. So have we got a dedicated women's health hub in Merton? No. As a result, women are forced into long queues for a GP appointment. When they finally reach a GP, their symptoms are often overlooked, or they're told to come back if it doesn't get better. They can feel dismissed. They don't go back. This pathway is like so many of our residential roads, full of uncleared fallen leaves, full of obstructions, plenty of places to slip. What about other areas in London? North East London has got 4 women's health hubs. Female residents in Barking, Dagenham, Havering, Redbridge, Tower Hamlets, Newham, Waltham Forest, City of London, Hackney, all benefit from specialist care. Other London residents, including those in Bexley and Greenwich, they can self-refer to those hubs, helping to reduce the barriers women are often facing. Women in Merton are limited to Kingston Hospital's vaguely defined hub, which is serving 300,000 women. NHS guidance notes said that women's health hubs are most effectively delivered to populations of 30 to 50,000, not 300,000. What we're asking for on behalf of the 112,000 women in Merton is a more productive Women's Health Hub model to improve diagnosis and treatment of women's health conditions. Come on, Merton, we can do this.
Councillor Austin, you have up to 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We will be supporting this motion, and many of the issues that have been raised, I'm sure, will resonate with many in this chamber. I would like to thank the Masick Foundation and the Birth Trauma Association for helping me prepare my remarks this evening. I had the great pleasure of working with them on the birth trauma inquiry in 2024, astonishingly the first inquiry led by a national legislator anywhere in the world of ending the postcode lottery on perinatal care. We learned from that local authorities have a crucial role in driving local health services. And of course, that includes women's health and improving maternity services. And I do just want to thank Hannah Doody for her advice to me as we were beginning to piece together that inquiry. The major obstacle we identified, and it is missing from this motion, is on the question of data. We just cannot measure what we do not know. There may be nationwide failures, but they are felt locally, and failure happens on the ground, not in a national policy document. So our focus today is how do we respond to this, and how do we get better at prevention? Any future needs assessment, however well-intentioned, will fail unless it addresses the most fundamental problem, which is the absence of crucial data. Let me just take perinatal care as an example. Some information does exist on the NHS Digital Maternity Dashboard, but we have nationally no data on tracking women who experience severe perineal tears. We have no data on PTSD after birth. We have no data on so many other forms of physical injury and psychological injury. What does this look like locally? I can't tell you because we don't know. This isn't just a technical issue, it has real financial and human consequences. We spend 5 times more nationally on fighting negligence claims for birth trauma injuries than we do on treating them. And I've long felt that strengthening the role of local authorities will improve accountability. We can set our own standards for the research that we commission, the data that we collect, and the accountability that we expect on behalf of our residents. Local authorities can assist women's injuries and ensure that they are recorded, that they are followed up, and they are understood. And if we do that, we can become much more preventative. So that's why we will be supporting this motion. And I urge other colleagues not only to think about just relying on national bodies, but what we are prepared to do ourselves. Thank you.
We now move on to Councillor Hicks. You have up to 4 minutes, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 3.5 years ago, this chamber unanimously supported a motion designed to increase breast cancer screening in Merton. Everyone in this chamber wants to improve health outcomes for our residents, and women's health, as we've heard, can be particularly problematic. So I'm not here to criticise the NHS or St George's. They saved my life personally twice, and I am very grateful. I'm not here to criticise our officers or our Cabinet Member for Health, who I know are working on this. But things could be better. 3.5 years on, we still don't have a breast cancer screening centre in the borough. A mobile screening van is still at least 3 years away. 35% of eligible residents do not take up the offer of screening. We are behind the national average. Women's health is not being prioritised, and this has got to change. In 23 to 24, 23,162 women in Merton were eligible for screening. For every 1,000 screenings, 8.5 breast cancers are detected. 65% of eligible women were screened. If we could drive up our rate to 70%, the national average, the same as Kingston and Richmond, this would mean approximately 10 more women would receive a timely diagnosis every year. Cancer's silent, and cancer waits for no one. We know early detection makes a huge difference to survival chances. We also know women who live in underprivileged areas are 13 times more likely to die of breast cancer. So since that motion 3.5 years ago, what's changed? In 2024 at HCOP, the ICB representative said he would pass on the discussion of a mobile screening van and the Wilson. That was nearly 2 years ago. The NHS has identified some additional funds for a screening site in Merton, but no additional revenue. St George's has been promised some additional funding, but that's not in Merton. We're not seeing enough progress on women's health. And meanwhile, other health services are progressing. Merton recently transformed its stop smoking services by creating a single branded digital hub, providing clear pathways to support, self-referral, tailored advice and resources. This is what we need for women's health, a clear path to treatment, not the fragmentation that you've heard about from my colleagues. So let's not be complacent. Let's not say we are already doing everything possible in the best of all possible ways. More can and should be done. A women's health strategy is key to reinvigorating the action that I know this council, all of us, want to achieve. So let's do everything we can to get the ICB to prioritise a women's health hub in Merton. Let's make it easier for women to get the diagnoses they need. And let's ensure the funding needed is discussed by the newly formed Merton Alliance by making this a priority by supporting this motion. Remember that even a 5% increase in screening rates means approximately 10 more women, actually 9.846, in Merton getting a timely diagnosis every year. Isn't that worth voting for? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I call upon Councillor Foley. You have up to 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Women in Merton face serious health challenges, as has been said tonight. Breast, ovarian and cervical cancer, endometriosis, menopause and more. Yet our health and wellbeing strategy barely mentions these issues, and the local health and care plan does not mention women at all. Having lost my own wife to ovarian cancer, I know just how devastating these conditions can be when diagnosis and treatment are delayed. A local women's health strategy would identify gaps, improve diagnosis and deliver care closer to home. It would show every woman in Merton that her health matters. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Gould, would you like to use your right to reply? You have.
When it comes to our local health services, our community deserves honesty. Unfortunately, that's not what we're getting from this Labour government. It is not prioritising women's health. And it deserves better than that from this failing Labour administration. You've chosen slogans over solutions, promising improvements while ignoring the practical steps needed to deliver them. And while you've argued endlessly at national level, it's local residents who've paid the price. We can't continue down that path. Our community needs an administration that focuses on delivery, not division. It's time for leadership that listens, that acts, and that puts the health of women first. That is why the Liberal Democrats are offering a different approach, one that is rooted in practical outcomes, not empty rhetoric. We believe in protecting local health services for women by improved access to breast cancer screening, introducing a women's health network, supporting women health hubs, and investing in preventative care that keeps women well before problems escalate. This Labour administration has taken people's votes for granted while failing to deliver the improvements women's health needs. We want a health system that actually works for women residents, not a theory, not in speeches, not in real life, but in real life. It's time for a different approach, a Liberal Democrat approach, community focused, evidence-based and genuinely committed to improving women's lives. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now call for a vote on the motion. Please raise your hands for. Against. Thank you. And not voting. For the motion, 25. Against, 27. Not voting, 1. The motion is lost. We now move on to agenda item number 12, the Conservative motion. I call upon Councillor McLean to please move. You have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I speak today to address an issue of the utmost seriousness, one that cuts to the heart of our responsibilities as elected representatives: the safety of vulnerable children in London. Over recent months, credible reports in the media have suggested that organised grooming gangs may be operating here in our capital. We know from the tragic lessons of Rotherham, Rochdale and Telford, among others, what happens when warnings are ignored, when political sensitivities, fear or complacency are allowed to silence the truth. And yet, despite these reports, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has refused to support a London-wide independent inquiry into grooming gangs. He has the power to show leadership, to support an investigation that would expose failings and protect future victims, but he has chosen not to act. Even more concerning, when the Conservative group on the London Assembly brought forward a fully funded budget amendment allocating £4.5 million to fund such an inquiry, Labour, the Liberal Democrats and the Greens all voted against it. Londoners deserve transparency. They deserve to know what their Mayor and Assembly are doing everything in their power to protect vulnerable young people from organised sexual exploitation. So I must ask, what are these parties afraid of? Why oppose an inquiry that seeks only the truth? Why refuse to give survivors a voice and ensure accountability? A London-wide inquiry would allow us to uncover the truth about grooming gangs operating in London. So why do Labour, Liberal Democrats and the Greens oppose one? Identify where systems have failed and ensure that every agency, the police, local authorities, social services are working together to prevent this horror. Refusing to investigate sends a deeply troubling message that political comfort matters more than justice, that protecting reputations matters more than protecting children. Mr. Mayor, this council and this city cannot afford to repeat the mistakes made elsewhere. We owe it to victims, to their families, and to every Londoner to confront this issue head on. So the Conservative group I lead calls once again on the London Mayor, members of the London Assembly, and on colleagues across this chamber to put aside political differences, to show courage and support an independent London-wide inquiry into grooming gangs. The truth may be difficult to hear, but it is the only way to restore trust and ensure the safety of every child in our capital. I move this motion.
I call upon Councillor Cox to second. You have up to 4 minutes.
Dear Mr. Mayor, I formally second the motion. The first and foremost duty of a government and of its mayors is to protect its people. As Benjamin Disraeli said, the safety of people should be the highest law. Yet today, too many of London's children are being left unprotected and ignored by our Labour mayor. desperate voices, exploited children, they have the right to be heard and to be protected. When the system designed to safeguard them turns a blind eye, it is not neutral, it is complicit. It becomes part of that corruption. Children in London, they have been groomed and raped after being failed by both the police and the care system. Girls as young as 11 were found with adult men days after going missing, and the reports of sexual assault were ignored and dismissed. In some cases, criminal investigations collapsed, leaving them exposed to further abuse, a horrifying pattern of systematic neglect that demonstrates just how badly London's most vulnerable have been let down. And Sadiq Khan has denied the problem. He has silenced the voices of our vulnerable and exploited children, saying, and I quote, there are no reported cases and also no indication of the grooming gangs in London. This is disdainful, disgraceful, and disregard of our vulnerable children in London, protecting criminals ahead of innocence, allowing exploitation because he cannot be bothered to take action. This statement of Labour's Sadiq Khan ignores documented reports from the police, care system failings, and investigative journalism that highlights widespread exploitation. And it is not just Labour. The objections of Labour, the Liberal Democrats, and the Greens that the inquiry we propose is unnecessary, it is too costly, it is duplicative, are hollow. It is £4.5 million, and that is modest in compared to the lifelong cost of trauma for exploited children. The existing processes have failed. Children remain unprotected, and that is why a new London-wide inquiry is not optional. It is urgent, it is necessary, and it is morally unavoidable. The inquiry will uncover the full scale of exploitation, hold perpetrators to account, and expose where our systems have failed to protect the most vulnerable. This is not a political mover, it is our duty. The Conservative motion we bring to Council today is clear. We call for a London-wide inquiry into the rape gang activity led by the GLA, using the City Hall's resources to gather evidence, uncover patterns, and to hold perpetrators to account. Victims must be at the centre. Their voices must be restored. Justice must at long last be found for them, and failures confronted openly. Colleagues, this is not just about justice, but it's about moral responsibility. And every day that this inquiry is delayed is another child could be exploited. Every day leadership fails, trust in our institutions erodes, and we must act decisively, not quietly, and accept inaction. I urge this council to condemn the failure of leadership on this issue, to demand the Mayor's support for the London-wide inquiry. Thank you.
We now move to the Liberal Democrat amendment, and I call upon Councillor Fairclough to move. You have up to 4 minutes, Councillor Fairclough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I propose the Liberal Democrat amendment on this motion. No one in this chamber needs convincing of the horrors of grooming gangs. These crimes destroy childhoods and shatter families. They leave scars that last a lifetime, and we all condemn them. And whilst we welcome the call for a focus on London, this motion is drafted. I mean, I do wonder if Councillors McLean and Cox have actually read it, and I would encourage them to use the time they have now to do so, to read their actual words. It's an attempt to set a dividing line between political ideologies, to create division and assign blame. It's mostly jabs at the Mayor of London and at the Conservatives' political opponents, the left-wing parties. It just undermines the gravity of the issue. Frankly, Mr. Mayor, at the moment, this motion reads more like a Tory election leaflet than a serious call for justice. Now, I can understand Councillor McLean's desperation. If you sit where and as he does, everyone looks left-wing. He's trying to find a way to give his small group some relevance, but dragging partisan politics into this horrific issue is beneath him and beneath this council. You can talk about moral clarity and moral certainty. If you're more interested in blaming your political opponents, you rather undermine that. And this is why our group proposes to refocus this motion on facts, on fairness, and on the future. First, let's get rid of the party political claptrap in here. No one needs it. Let's instead affirm a cross-party commitment to the seriousness of the issue and accountability. Secondly, let's get the fairest outcome for victims and survivors. The government must get on with the national inquiry, an inquiry that has the powers and the reach to do what it needs to do, swiftly, transparently, and with survivors' voices at its heart. And lastly, let's look to the future. The Met is already reviewing 9,000 cases of child sexual exploitation in London, and that needs to be done as quickly as possible, and they need the resources to do that. Now, the Mayor, the GLA, they need to support that. Last week in the London Assembly, unanimously, they came together to push for these very changes that are in our amendment. And across London, councils can do that too, starting here. Now, Mr. Mayor, I urge colleagues to support the amendment and then the amended motion. Let's channel the genuine outrage on behalf of victims into change, and let's keep the playground politics out of this debate.
Call upon Councillor Bakari to second the motion. You have up to 4 minutes.
I'm very concerned how politicised this issue has become, because I think every single one of us fully support urgent action on child sexual exploitation and the essential need for both comprehend the scale of the group-based sexual abuse here in London and above all to give justice to victims and survivors. I have to thank the Tories here in Merton Council, because they're giving me a lot of attention what we're doing in the London Assembly, but they have failed to look at the detail of what happened in that budget amendment. That amendment was suggesting massive staff cuts to fund this proposal, which is why the majority of Assembly members decided to vote against it. However, last week, on Thursday, the 13th of November, in the London Assembly, the Liberal Democrats fully backed a Conservative motion calling on the government to expedite national statutory inquiry into group-based child sexual abuse, announced by the Prime Minister in June following Baroness Louise Casey's recommendations. Now, we know that in London there is a steady stream of child sexual exploitation cases, as confirmed by the Metropolitan Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley. We welcome the Met's commitment to reviewing 9,000 cases over the last 15 years to establish the full scale of group-based sexual violence in the capital. And it is a huge task, and we fully support ensuring this critical work is properly resourced. And Assembly member Susan Hall even today welcomed the £2.4 million that will be funded by the Mayor for child exploitation support, which was announced today. So serious an issue this is. We must not be using this as a vehicle for party political point scoring. Child sexual exploitation is not a left-right issue, and victims and survivors deserve better than to see their suffering exploited for political gain. Our focus must always remain on the survivors, accountability and prevention, and not on creating partisan dividing lines that undermine the gravity of these crimes. And the Conservative motion in the London Assembly got cross-party support, even from the left-wing parties. So I say that we support the work of the London Assembly, the representatives for the whole of London. It shows that grown-up cross-party politics can exist, and that grown-up politics is exactly what is needed on such a serious issue like this. And I hope that we could all support this amendment and fix this inaccurate motion from the Merton Tories.
Thank you. Councillor Foley, you have up to 1 minute to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As has been said, this is not about politics. It's about protecting children. For too long, the scale of rape gang activity in London has remained unclear because a London-wide inquiry was blocked. Yet the Metropolitan Police now admits there are tens of active cases and is reviewing 9,000 historic child exploitation cases, with thousands likely involving group-based abuse. Reports have exposed shocking failures, investigations graded inadequate, victim-blaming attitudes, and missed chances to protect children. Communities like Tower Hamlets are demanding answers. Victims deserve justice, and children deserve safety. City Hall has the resources to lead a comprehensive inquiry. We cannot allow these crimes to remain hidden. Let us send a clear message. Safeguarding children is not optional. It is our highest duty. Justice delayed is justice denied. We cannot afford further delay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Bim, you have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Child sexual abuse and the exploitation of children, whether through grooming gangs or otherwise, are amongst the most horrific crimes imaginable. Those who perpetrate or enable them must be pursued and punished to the full extent of the law, and we must do everything we can to support victims and survivors. As Councillor Macaulay has said, protecting children is a responsibility shared by all of us, especially councils, the police, and public services. The independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, led by Professor Jay and cited in the Conservative motion, showed that these crimes have not been taken seriously for far too long, and far too many children have been failed. But I'm afraid, Mr. Mayor, the Conservatives in Merton have chosen to use this deeply serious issue as a political tool rather than treating it with the gravity that it demands. Nationally, the government has committed to fully implementing the recommendations of the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, and following the audit by Baroness Louise Casey into the data and evidence on the nature and scale of group-based child sexual abuse, has announced there will be a full national statutory inquiry into grooming gangs. Locally, we also take this issue very seriously and continue to proactively offer support to victims and survivors of sexual violence through the South London Rape Crisis Service and the other Pan-London specialist services. Responding to a letter from the leader of the council, the Met's BCU commander has confirmed that they do not recognise the allegations made by ex-Reform MP Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry, which named Merton among 85 councils where gang-based child exploitation is said to be occurring or has previously occurred. However, let me be absolutely clear to all members here this evening. This reassurance does not mean that we can be complacent in Merton. We will continue to work with the Met and urge them to prioritise victim support, address underreporting, and investigate all allegations based on evidence without fear or favour. Whilst this motion calls for a London-wide inquiry, it is important to note that the Metropolitan Police have just announced investigations into thousands of historic cases of child exploitation and tens of thousands of cases of group-based child sexual exploitation. It is crucial that the Met are allowed to carry out this work, bring perpetrators to justice, and secure justice for survivors in London. Merton Conservatives should support the National Statutory Inquiry, the full implementation of the IICSA's recommendations, and the Met's ongoing investigations across London. This subject demands both seriousness and action, not words, Mr. Mayor. We will not be supporting this motion.
I said no further speakers. Councillor McLean, would you like to use your right to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've heard accusations from the Liberal Democrats and Labour that the Conservatives are somehow politicising this issue. But let me be absolutely clear. That claim is not only false, it's just simply an attempt to distract from their failure to lead. And we make no apology for taking responsibility and driving this issue forward in this chamber. Someone had to, and it certainly wasn't going to be them. Mr. Mayor, tonight the Lib Dems had a chance, a real chance, to stand up for victims and to support a genuine London-wide inquiry. And instead, with their amendment, they blocked it. They chose to fall in behind Labour's national inquiry, but which has been heavily watered down. And why has it been watered down? Because Labour and now the Lib Dems are terrified of acknowledging the truth about the dominant demographic evidence which has been shown time and time again. Labour cannot bring itself to say it. The Lib Dems won't allow themselves to acknowledge it. So instead, they champion a national inquiry designed not to expose the truth, but to soften it, dilute it, and bury it. Well, Mr. Mayor, victims deserve better than a political whitewash, a watered-down inquiry that victims won't join, an inquiry no one wants to lead, an inquiry so weakened it may never even happen under Labour. That is what their amendment calls for. That's what they have chosen. Mr. Mayor, this chamber should be united in demanding an honest, robust, victim-focused London-wide investigation. Instead, Labour and the Lib Dems have chosen to delay, denial and political convenience. Well, we will continue to fight for full, fearless inquiry, and we will not be intimidated into silence by those who would rather protect their political comfort than protect vulnerable children.
I will now call for a vote on the Liberal Democrat amendment. Please raise your hands for. Thank you. And please raise your hands against. Thank you. And not voting. Councillor Charles, have you voted or are you abstaining? Just. For the Liberal Democrat Amendment 19, against 27, not voting 1. The amendment falls. We now move to the substantive motion. Can I see all those in favour of the substantive motion? Thank you. And all those against? Thank you. And not voting? For the motion, 9. Against the motion, 27. Not voting, 17. The motion is lost. We now move on to item number 13, police station front desks motion. I call upon Councillor Macaulay to move the motion. You have up to 4 minutes.
I'm proud to propose this Labour motion to Council. Martin Labour has fought tirelessly to protect the integrity of our local policing, ensuring that Mitcham and Wimbledon police stations remain open and fully functioning. And now we are confronted with the news that both front desk services in Martin are set to close. Front desks are not an optional extra. They are the visible, accessible face of policing. Vulnerable residents depend on these services, For them, being told to travel miles during traumatic situation is just inconvenient. It is profoundly distressing. The nearest 24-hour front desk for Martin residents will now be in Sutton, or they will be faced to rely on a reduced hours front desk in Wandsworth. This is not accessibility. This is not neighborhood policing at its best. We understand that the Met Police face financial pressures. Years of conservative costs have, between 2010 and 2024, supported by the Lib Dems during the coalition, depleted our public services, leaving communities like ours to pay the price. Difficult decisions must be made, yes, but not at the expense of community safety. Of course, there are alternative ways to report crime, but these proposals risk undermining the very fabric of community safety in Martin. They could lead to under-reporting of offences, they will isolate the vulnerable, and they will place an unreasonable burden on those unable to travel outside the borough. I have written to the Deputy Mayor and the Met Commissioner asking that this decision be reviewed, and we will continue fighting to keep these services, but we also need to be practical. That is why this motion will provide a mandate for the council to work with the police to explore ways we could mitigate the impact of these closures if they go ahead and protect the safety of our community. Martin has consistently been ranked one of the safest boroughs in London. That is not by accident. It is because Martin Labour have fought for strong, visible, accessible policing introduced by our own Safer Streets team and upgraded by 24-hour CCTV. So tonight, I ask colleagues across this chamber to stand with Martin Labour, to stand with our residents, and to stand to keep our borough safe. I move the motion.
And I have Councillor Stringer to second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm very pleased to be seconding this motion because police stations are a core part of our community and we understand the value that people attach to them. So the news that our front desks are being scheduled to close both in Wimbledon and Mitcham stations is profoundly disheartening. Front desks are a vital presence in our borough. They ensure that everyone has the ability to swiftly report on instances of crime. They're a place for residents to feel safe and be heard. They are havens for the vulnerable. As we have discussed at previous meetings, these stations are community anchors. And I know firsthand the extent to which Wimbledon Station's front desk is relied upon, and I've seen the number of people walking through the front doors. Just this weekend, a gentleman told me about how he had recently reported a crime, turning up at Wimbledon Police Station, because he wanted that face-to-face interaction about something that he was worried about. Other community anchors across the country have been decimated by over decades of austerity, pushing public services to breaking points. And it's not just public services, high streets, local bank branches, pubs, they've all fallen foul to the impact of austerity, Mr. Mayor, that's torn apart at the social fabric, what makes our communities whole. Police stations and their front desks are one of the last vestiges of what remain before the Conservatives and the Lib Dem coalition partners cruelly imposed austerity on our nation. The loss of the service that front desks would provide has been said again and again to result in increased crime and lower crime reporting rates, which is something that this Labour administration has tirelessly fought to prevent. So now we must act. We are working every day to keep Merton as one of the safest boroughs in London. Mr. Mayor, for 7 years now, I have represented those who call Wimbledon a home and have had countless conversations with local people. Wimbledon is a vibrant centre, providing so much for our local economy. To a vast range of people from various backgrounds over the day and also through its thriving nighttime economy and through the strong business network we have there. It is these residents and workers that the Met should be listening to when they say, keep our police stations open. Mr. Mayor, we are showing the leadership. We're doing what we can. Our new Safer Streets neighbourhood wardens have helped to improve business confidence in Wimbledon and we've seen reduced street drinking and antisocial behaviour in the town centre through collaboration with the police. This is just a snippet of the benefits that I've seen as a result of our increased community safety partnerships. But it would be counterproductive, Mr. Mayor, to worsen these improvements, to put them at risk by closing the front desk. This Labour administration will keep on campaigning for our residents' voice and for their safety. We're doing all we can to maintain the best level of police service in Merton, and I fully support this motion. Thank you.
We have two amendments and we will take them in the order that they were received. So firstly, the Conservative amendment. Councillor Holden, please move the Conservative amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I formally move the Conservative amendment.
And Councillor McLean.
I formally second and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. We now move to the second amendment, the Liberal Democrat amendment. Councillor Page, please move the Liberal Democrat amendment. You have up to 4 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I propose the Liberal Democrat amendment. The campaign to save the police front counters in Mitcham and Wimbledon has barely started, but it seems our Labour colleagues are now preparing the way for the Mayor's cuts to proceed with this motion and the actions in it. Under the Mayor's proposals, the police will become less accessible, less present, and less embedded in our communities. Claiming local policing is being rebuilt when the Mayor is cutting officers and shutting front counters is baffling. That is happening now in 2025, not back in 2015. The council is now paying for a Safer Streets team, a service that should be provided by police community support officers by the Met. Under the Mayor's plans, the police are withdrawing further from Merton, and it will be the council that has to step in to cover this loss in their absence. We know the removal of the front desks is a precursor to closing the stations, and a borough the size of Merton cannot be policed with only one or even no police stations. What this Labour Party should be doing is standing up to the Labour Mayor and rejecting this, fighting for community policing in our borough and across London. Our amendment calls for the council to engage with the police to ensure the police are accessible to residents in the borough, alongside the retention of the front counters. This should be business as usual for a proactive council, but is absent from the Labour motion. We call for the council to push for greater visibility and accessibility for the police, alongside, not instead of, the counters. Now, normally they tell us we're already doing this when we put motions forward. If so, that does beg certain questions about their own motion, given their motion is simply to meet with the borough commander. However, there is a serious issue around safety and perception of safety from the community that we should be taking action on. In our motion, there are real options and proposals to address that, including support for the base at the Civic Centre. Our amendment is to improve accessibility, and we welcome potential solutions to that, but not at the expense of the front counters. Thank you.
The amendment is being seconded by Councillor Kohler. You have up to 4 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I formally second and reserve my right to speak.
Okay, I have the following listed to speak. Councillor Mercer, you have up to 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 4 minutes. I don't know quite what I'll do with so much. Okay, thank you. Merton Park Ward supported the motion in September, and we support the main motion today. We believe residents value and need somewhere local to report crime and in an emergency to shelter from it. If Merton is to lose both Mitcham and Wimbledon, surely the police agree that we should not be left with nothing. Of course, we oppose the closure plans, but we support your proactive attitude to mitigating any damage, and if necessary, I hope that you will assist the police with finding within the borough suitable alternative premises for front desk services. Well, within time.
Councillor Szczepanski, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member has already made a strong case to protecting the front desk. I would like to now to speak for Mitcham. The proposed closure of Mitcham's front desk will have real impact on residents across the east side of our borough. For many in my ward of Lavender Fields, the next nearest 24-hour front desk would be in Sutton. That's over 30 minutes by car and close to an hour by public transport. Our local police station is a cornerstone of community safety. It provides reassurance to residents, supports our local policing model, and helps keep Merton as one of the safest boroughs in London. A main front desk isn't just a convenience, it's a key part of maintaining public confidence in local policing. That confidence matters just as much to residents in Mitcham as it does in those in Wimbledon. Some may claim that Mitcham front desk is underused or unnecessary, but we know from speaking directly with residents that many still rely on it, particularly those who are already elderly and disabled. Thanks to the hard work of this administration, crime in my ward has fallen significantly in recent years, but we cannot allow these proposed closures to undermine local policing model that is clearly working. This administration is getting on with the job, doing the real work to defend Merton's local policing model, and I welcome the practical step already taken to make residents feel safer in every corner of our borough, not just in Wimbledon. From safer streets, team policing, providing visible reassurance, to the 2 million investment in our 24-hour CCTV network, this administration is delivering the real results. Residents in Mitcham, who too often feel forgotten by the members opposite, can trust that this Labour administration will continue to stand up for them. I fully support the work being done by members of this cabinet to keep both Mitcham and Wimbledon stations and their front desk open. After more than a decade of devastating cuts policing under coalition and Conservative government.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I now call upon Councillor Kohler to use his right to reply.
I'm mystified, Councillor Stringer. After complaining we were wasting your time at the last council meeting when we submitted an emergency motion on police station front desks before you belatedly decided to submit a motion on the same subject, you've now compounded the illogicality by submitting yet another motion on the same subject and just as vacuous as your previous one. Better late than never, I suppose, but our residents will not forget Merton Labour Party's failure in 2018 to join my successful legal campaign to stop the closure of Wimbledon Police Station, Merton Labour Party's failure in 2022 to make any submission defending Wimbledon Police Station when the Labour Mayor of London consulted on closing our police stations, and Merton Labour Party's failure yet again this year to make any submission defending either Wimbledon or Mitcham Police Station when Sadiq Khan again consulted on closing them. As we established at the last council meeting, Merton Labour Party did absolutely nothing to protect the front desks at Wimbledon and Mitcham police stations until after Sadiq Khan had agreed to their closure. This motion before us tonight is simply Merton Labour Party's latest attempt to close the stable door after the police horse has bolted. And what does it amount to? Political posturing and self-congratulatory nonsense that only requires the leader to do what he should surely be doing anyway, meet with the BCU commander. Do you not do that anyway? Now, let's be clear. The Conservatives under Boris Johnson in his time as Mayor of London halved the number of police stations across London. And then, not to be outdone, Labour did exactly the same. That did not stop Sadiq Khan promising in last year's London elections to maintain a 24-hour front counter in every borough and telling us everything would be better once he had a Labour government to work alongside. Well, we all know how that worked out, don't we? With Sadiq Khan announcing this summer he was halving the number of front counters yet again. Now, admittedly, he's recently found the money to reverse that decision in 8 Labour boroughs, but not in Merton. As Councillor Stringer knows, London Labour has given up on Merton. They know it's a lost cause. We're on our own, which is why the Lib Dem amendment to this motion offers meaningful and practical ways to save community policing in Merton by taking an evidence-based approach to using our limited resources strategically. That's what a Lib Dem council would do and will do come May.
Councillor McLean, do you wish to exercise your right to reply? You have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Conservative group clearly supports keeping the front desk open. But tonight, let's talk plainly about crime, safety and the political games that are being played by Labour and the Liberal Democrats. games that come at an expense of public trust. The Liberal Democrats like to talk tough. They run around telling people they've saved the police station, but now we find out they're not saved. Our front desk charges closing on Councillor Kohler's watch, not on Stephen Hammond's. But when they had a chance to vote for actual funding, once again, our friends in the GLA, the Liberal Democrats, did not back the Conservative fully funded amendment, siding instead with bureaucracy, the unions, and they refused to support it. And the public will understandably feel misled because they are being misled. And while the Liberal Democrats posture about police numbers, they continue to imply that Merton Council controls Metropolitan Police redeployment. They know this isn't true. Police abstractions are a Met decision, full stop. The Conservatives have been clear. If you want to reduce abstractions, you have to limit the endless central London protests draining local resources. We support that. The Liberals oppose it. Another inconsistent position from a party that constantly says one thing and does another. And their record gets worse. Recently, they failed to support a Conservative Lord's amendment calling for the automatic deportation of foreign criminals. Instead, they voted with Labour to block it. When confronted with a choice between protecting the public or indulging Labour's soft touch ideology, they sided with Labour. But their hypocrisy comes natural to Liberal Democrats. Let's look at this. Just weeks ago, the Lib Dems branded our push in Cannon Hill for Article 4 direction as racist and right-wing, simply because we wanted to limit the HMO saturation and protect family homes. They tried to smear us for a policy residents overwhelmingly support. But now, once they realise the public is firmly on our side, they have suddenly discovered their support for Article 4 direction. The mask has slipped. Merton residents can see they are just a left-wing party, devoid of ideas and obsessed with identity politics. They owe the many residents who have supported our petition an apology, because when you called myself, Councillor Patterson and Frank Pocock racist, by extension, you were calling them racist too. You don't get to throw around accusations and then quietly jump on the bandwagon when it suits you. Own your words or admit the hypocrisy. Mr. Mayor, Labour want to let everyone out of prison. The Liberal Democrats don't want to put anyone in prison. Together they form a coalition of soft sentences, soft justice and weak leadership. Mr. Mayor, residents deserve better than this Labour Lib Dem axis of indecision and appeasement. They deserve a firm, consistent Conservative approach, one that prioritises law, order and the safety of every family in this borough. Thank you.
I will now call for a vote on the Conservative amendment. Please raise your hands for the Conservative amendment. Can I see those against? And not voting? That amendment falls. Can I please therefore ask for a vote on the Liberal Democrat amendment? All those in favour? All those against? And not voting? That amendment falls. Go on the first one. The Liberal Democrat amendment for the motion 25, against 27, not voting 1. The amendment is lost. Second. Okay, I've been asked to recall the Conservative amendment. Can I see all those in favour of the Conservative amendment, please, to show their hands? And all those against? And not voting? So for the Conservative amendment 9, against 43, not voting 1. That amendment is lost. We therefore move to the substantive motion. Can I see all those in favour, please show? And all those against? Not voting? For the motion, 46, against 0, not voting 7. The motion is carried. We now move on to agenda item number 14 is the Treasury Management Report. Councillor Alan Brittas, should you formally move the report, you have up to 4 minutes.
I won't be taking 4 minutes, Mr. Mayor. This is the Treasury Management Strategy Annual Review. On Treasury Management, the authority complied with its legislative and regulatory requirements throughout the year. Just one highlight on our Treasury position as at the 31st of March 2025. We have a very favourable position when it comes to reducing our debt portfolio. We've paid off 4 million and reduced the overall debt of this council to 38 million. Compare that with the 1990s, 200 million, the 2000s, 100 million. We're one of the lowest debt held by a London borough. Thank you very much. Please approve.
By Councillor Garrod.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to formally second.
And after following lists to speak, Councillor Oliver, you have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few remarks about the 2024-25 Treasury Management Strategy Annual Review, which is item 14 in your pack. Last year's equivalent statement was presented to Council on the 18th of September 2024. In that statement, it says at paragraph 2.1 that, I'm quoting, the Council undertakes Treasury management activities in accordance with the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy Code of Practice on Treasury Management, which requires that the Council receives an annual strategy report by the 31st of March for the year ahead and an annual review report of the previous year by the 30th of September. Given that today is the 19th of November, the report is nearly 2 months late. I would like the Cabinet Member for Finance to comment on that. There is also a requirement for a mid-year Treasury update report. This has not been received yet. The earliest possible date is now the 4th of February 2026. That will be 10 months into the year, hardly mid-year. I would like the Cabinet Member for Finance to comment on that. At paragraph 4.3, the report states that the regulatory environment places responsibility on members, that's all of us in the room, for the review and scrutiny of Treasury management policy and activities. To be able to review and scrutinise, we need to be able to understand the report. I suggest that very little effort has been made to make the report understandable by finance specialists, let alone the non-finance specialists who make up the majority of members. Further, at paragraph 4.4, the report states that this authority confirms that it has complied with the requirement under the code to give prior scrutiny to all of the above Treasury management reports, so the annual, the one before the year, the mid-year report, which we haven't had, and this previous year report, which is late, by the committee before they were reported to the full council. So I thought of two possible committees that they might be referring to, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee and the Governance Standards and Audit Committee. But the report has been presented to neither of those. So the only remaining committee it must be is the Cabinet, in which case the Cabinet's done a very poor job, as this report is riddled with errors. To give two examples. The wrong investment total is on page 22. It shows 189. The correct figure is 198. And sorry, 199.8. And a lot of the numbers in the report on the top of page 24, if you care to look at that, have been completely mangled and other wrong numbers. So I would like the Cabinet Member for Finance to reveal whether he considers that any meaningful scrutiny of this report took place before it was presented to full Council. If it had been presented to a committee which had opposition members on it, errors would have been spotted and could have been corrected. I suggest that, in the remaining 8 seconds, I suggest that an improved report with mistakes corrected and proper explanations included be presented to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee where members can try to make sense of it.
Councillor Alan Britton, do you wish to use your right to reply? Is that report agreed? We move on to agenda item number 15, Statement of Licensing and Policy. I call upon Councillor Fraser to move the report. You have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am happy to propose the adoption of the licensing policy. By law, we must have a statement of licensing policy. Policy is to be reviewed by the committee every 5 years and must be agreed before January 26, when the present policy expires. The new 5-year policy will run from January 26 to January 31. Prior to the above, the licensing committee was asked to consider 3 recommendations. 1, consider the comments received during the public consultation process, which took place between 18th June and 15th September 25. 2, approve delegated authority to the licensing manager in consultation with the chair of the licensing committee to approve any amendments of the statements of the licensing policy after the committee meetings and prior to submission to council to adopt on the 19th of November, which is today. And third, approve the draft statement of the licensing policy and the cumulative impact assessment subject to the above recommended. I recommend them for adoption by full council on the 19th of November 2025. These were considered between the 18th June and the 15th September 25, and the recommendations were agreed. The final draft was written on the 14th of October 25 by the officers. The committee now recommends these for adoption by full council. If the council agrees, these will come into effect on the 6th of January 26. I would like to thank the officers and the committee for their work. Thank you.
Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second this report, and I'd like to thank my colleague Councillor Fraser for her work chairing licensing.
No further speakers have indicated they wish to speak. Is the report agreed? Thank you. We now move on to agenda item number 16, a financial monitoring report. Councillor Alan Britton, will you move the report? You have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't be taking 4 minutes. I'll concentrate on the Merton Legacy Fund here. So aside from that, we've got amendments to the capital programme to approve Sir Joseph Hood Rec artificial pitch, which we've all talked about, and then to approve the allocation of £50 million to the Legacy Fund using capital receipts from the sale of Chas for £186 million. Does Mr. Oliver agree that? Sold for £186 million. Thank you. Sorry, should have addressed you, Mr. Mayor. And so the Merton Legacy Fund is doing well, and what we're doing is talking about a board made up of people from throughout the borough, from businesses, from the charitable sector, for the voluntary sector, and we're also talking about another round of engagement with the residents and with a vote with the general public. So I'm really pleased with the fact that following the most successful entrepreneurial activity of any London borough in the last few years in growing Chas, selling it for £186 million, allocating £50 million towards a legacy fund for projects. I'm really pleased with this report and I hope that it'll find approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to thank officers and the Cabinet member for preparing the report, and I hope that it's a report that will get consensus, particularly because this is a unique position for a local authority to be in after selling a hugely successful local authority owned business, to actually give power back to the people to decide on how and where £15 million worth of funding should be spent. Thank you.
That amendment. Councillor Rees, please move. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, does this administration know how to organise anything? I don't think so. At full council on the 1st of February 2023, we proposed a motion that called for all Merton residents to have the opportunity to engage in discussions about how the CHAS receipt should be used. And we're glad the council adopted our approach so that residents could suggest the ideas of their local communities. You then launched a flagship public consultation in, when was that? October 2024. Wow, 1.5 years later. Interesting. You've now recently told us, following my question at the last council meeting, that spending plans aren't going to be announced until the 2026-27 budget. Is that a bit of a delay? I think so, but not atypical of this administration. But let's acknowledge, lucky Merton residents to have this opportunity, and lucky the few winners of these funds. Unlucky, the hundreds of residents are going to be taking the time and effort to enter a suggestion who have got high hopes, but whose suggestions are going to fail to get selected. So we owe it to everybody to demonstrate the fairness of this process. Now, you say there'll be a representative panel of 5 people, together with the inimitable Councillor Alan Brittis, to judge the entries. But what does representative mean in practice, I wonder? We note it's representatives from the 5 towns, but what about age, ethnicity, voting intentions? Interesting. And as with so many other areas with this administration, we need so much more transparency. I mean, how are these ideas and subsequent projects going to be judged? Surely not behind closed doors. Surely not. We also need clear criteria and weighting factors for selecting the projects. You owe it to the residents to ensure the best ideas and projects are going to be taken forward and that funds are distributed fairly. Now, I hear tonight that the public are going to have a say on how the money will be spent. That's great. We proposed that 2 years ago, but strangely, you voted against it. Interesting, isn't it? So, in a nutshell, what we're requesting is that the meetings of the panel are going to be open to the public. Any sensitive matters could easily be dealt with privately. The second thing we'd like to propose is that the selection of panel members, the ideas and shortlisted projects are going to be carried out using clear stated criteria and weighting factors. We owe that as a minimum to the residents of this borough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I call upon Councillor McGrath to second the amendment. You have up to 4 minutes.
I'd like to formally second and reserve my right to speak, Mr. Mayor, please.
Councillor Alan Brittis. Pardon? There's no further speakers. Councillor Alan Brittis, because you have to speak now, I'm afraid. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, this is a rather curious report. It's called the Financial Monitoring Report for period 5, but it doesn't actually have any financial data for period 5. That's a bit odd. But let me come on to our amendment. So this is actually a really, really straightforward and simple amendment. If we're going to be spending large sums of money, it's right that there should be the maximum transparency. We all know, and it's very regrettable, that a lot of our residents are very cynical about politicians, not just us or not just you or not just them, all politicians, and people are very keen on cynicism and conspiracy theories. The best way we think to deal with that is to be as open as we can. Now, I'm hoping that the Labour group are going to vote for this amendment. I mean, how could anybody really not vote to have meetings held in public? except in those circumstances, as we do with all our meetings, where something confidential or exempt is being discussed, and to publish the terms of reference of the board and the selection criteria. I really cannot imagine how anybody could vote against that. I fear I'm going to be surprised and disappointed, but I hope they will vote for it because it's so much in line with what so many people in the Labour Party have said. Keir Starmer, still currently and perhaps surprisingly, Prime Minister and leader of the Labour Party, he said we need a transparency revolution. There should be no power without accountability. Angela Rayner, possibly the next leader of the Labour Party, she said, it's not very original, but it's true, transparency is the key and sunlight the best disinfectant. And then there's David Lammy, who probably won't be the next leader of the Labour Party. He said we need radical transparency. Three rather different Labour MPs, but they all agree with us. So I'm hoping that the Labour group will agree with us as well and vote for our amendment. Thank you.
Councillor British, do you wish to exercise the right to reply? I will now call for a vote on the Liberal Democrats amendment. Please raise your hands for. Against. And not voting. That amendment falls. The result for that is.
Sorry, I wonder if I could just say something there. I got carried away and voted.
Yes.
I should not have voted.
Thank you.
So can you
It's
count me?
425 against. Can I have quiet, please? 425 against 27, not voting 1. We move to the substantive thing. Can I see all those in favour? Anyone against? Not voting? Fine. That's agreed. We now move on to agenda item number 17, appointment of Director of Resources. Councillor British, to formally move the report. You have.
I formally move.
Do we have any second? Councillor Garrett?
Like to formally second.
Is the report agreed? Agenda item number 18, appointment of independent person. Councillor Szczepanski, can you please move the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to formally move the appointment.
And it's been second. Councillor Oliver?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second the report.
Agreed. Agenda item number 19, approval of absence, section 85 Local Government Act 1972. Councillor Bim to formally move the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I formally move this report.
Councillor Stringer to second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second this report.
Report agreed. Agenda item number 20, changes to membership of committees and related matters. Councillor Bim to formally move the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I formally move this report.
Councillor Stringer to formally second.
Mr. Mayor, yes, I second this.
Is the report agreed? It's agreed. Thank you. We're on to the last item, 21, petitions. Councillor Garrett to formally move the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to formally move the report.
Been seconded by Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second this report.
Thank you. Is the report agreed? I understand, Councillor Charles, you have a petition to present.
Yes, I have. Yes, I've got a petition to end procurement of contracts and divest from pension funds from all companies trading in the illegal settlements in the West Bank. Thank you.
For this evening, thank you for your attendance. I now declare this meeting closed. Hope you have a very Merry Christmas.